energy system of the future, there's two big things guiding this. One is trying to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions because we want to mitigate climate change. The other is going to be cost, because we want to make sure that the energy system is affordable for everyone. One thing that often gets hidden in these discussions are those local impacts, right? Global climate change affects everyone, but the local air pollution impacts are going to affect the health of different populations depending on what power plants you live near. One of the big pollutants that we are concerned with is particulate matter. These are little particles that float through the air, and that can get into your lungs when you breathe. It can cause higher levels of asthma or even premature death. So particulate matter, or PM, is something that my student Teagan Goforth has been looking at to ask ourselves, as we are changing the energy systems in the future, driven by our climate change goals, what are the local impacts? Who's impacted, and where are those impacts occurring?
My paper focuses on assessing the air pollution impacts of different decarbonization scenarios within the US. And to do that, we modeled 8 different decarbonization scenarios and tied it to an air pollution model that then evaluated the distribution of air pollution across the US, regionally, and across different demographic groups. Our results showed that if there were no strict technology or carbon cap mandates, there was about a 0.2 micrograms per meter cube difference in PM 2.5 exposure across Black and poor communities compared to their counterparts. Whereas if there were strict technology mandates or carbon caps, then air pollution did reach equality and have about a difference of 0 micrograms per meter cubed by those mandate years. PM, which stands for particulate matter, can have adverse health effects like impacting different lung and heart diseases, and also cause premature mortality. When planning our future electricity sector, it's important to consider these air pollution impacts across different regions and demographics, and not just focus on the least cost option, but instead focus on how can we also minimize health impacts and who is impacted by the electricity sector over time.
One of the big implications of Teagan's work is that now we have a forward-looking analysis to be able to identify how retiring different power plants can benefit and potentially disproportionately harm different types of demographic groups. We have looked at poverty rates, looked at different demographics, income levels, and these things need to be taken into account as we are thinking about the strategy for retirement. It's all well and good to say we will eventually get to 100% low carbon or 100% renewable energy system, but as we are transitioning, we need to think about who is currently negatively impacted by our current system, and how are we going to retire those plants in order to make sure that as we transition, we have an equitable energy system.